want to start with you and ask you to explain the fundamental issues or questions that the Supreme Court is going to have to grapple with this suit.
I'm sorry, you're asking me?
What's the fundamental issue in this suit, Ted?
Well, as I see it, the fundamental issue is whether whether corporations, companies, private entities that are in a business of profit, whether they be hospitals, employers, or whatever, whether they have religious beliefs that are going to be recognized by the Supreme Court that allow them to say we're not going to provide certain kind of services here with respect to abortion. And that's a little bit of a different question than what historically the abortion debate has been about, or the choice debate has been about.
And so, Matt, let me bring you in here and just ask you a very simple question. The Affordable Care Act is a law that was debated, passed, upheld by the Supreme Court. It is, in fact, the law of the land. And so why shouldn't Hobby Lobby abide by the law?
Well, because there's a law that predates it, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, that says the government can't burden religious exercise of businesses and individuals. This is about a group of Mennonite, a family that wants to operate their business according to their religious beliefs. They've got deeply held convictions that tell them abortion is wrong, and they don't want to provide or pay for anything that's going to cause abortions, cause the loss of life of a child. And so it's a simple matter of the law protects the right of this family to operate their business according to their belief.
I want to ask you, I want to push back just a little bit, and I understand exactly what you're saying, but the law also provides for the rights of those employees that might not share the same religious beliefs of the owners of the store. So what about their rights to have fair and equitable access to health care through this law?
Sure. The government already spends hundreds of millions of dollars every year of providing contraceptives through local family clinics and whatnot. If the government wants to provide these services, it's got a way to do it. What the government can't do, though, is to require this business and these owners to violate their deeply held religious beliefs and to provide something that they object to.
And the fact is, Ted, I'm going to come back to you. Of course, our country was founded on the principle of freedom of religion. And so why should, then I'll ask you the inverse of the question that I asked Matt, and that is, why should these owners be compelled to act in a manner that's contrary to the religious freedoms that are granted to them by the Constitution?
Well, when we talk about freedom of religion, we've been more concerned about keeping lines drawn between church and state, and not infringing on religious beliefs through the government. Yes, that is true. But here we're talking about companies that are in business to make profit, to make money. We're not talking about individual beliefs. We're talking about companies and whether they provide health care consistent with a law that's been duly enacted by Congress and signed into law by the President of the United States, and whether individuals will have the full scope of coverage that is available without respect to any discrimination against them.
And Matt, what do you have to say in response to this? Because I think one of the key issues here is whether or not a corporation can be viewed as an individual. Ted was very careful to talk about the individual's right to expression of religion. What is the case that extends that right to a for-profit corporation?
There's been several Supreme Court cases that have dealt with this, including Citizens United, that have said corporations are individuals that enjoy First Amendment protections. And so this really isn't a stretch of the law as it exists. It's merely a matter of saying corporations and their owners are included in that right to exercise religion, to operate according to their beliefs. And so what our clients are seeking is simply the right to operate according to their beliefs and not be forced to choose between violating their beliefs or shutting down their business to comply with the law.
Speculate a little bit for me, Ted. How do you think the court is going to rule on this, considering its conservative makeup?
Well, look, Citizens United is a case that has wreaked a lot of havoc, and we could talk about that at great length. But, I've been around the block for a long time, and, I've learned a long time ago that speculation about what the Supreme Court is going to do is a fool's errand. This is a conservative court. I can't say about what it will do and what it will not do, but I do think that this is another step extending the notion that corporations have religious beliefs. Of course they don't. If the Supreme Court does go there, I think that's treading some new ground, with all due respect.
What kind of precedent, if the court in fact rules in favor of the plaintiffs or the petitioners in this case, Matt, what type of precedent is that setting?
I think it's going to be an important precedent that lets Americans everywhere know that just because they choose to go into business doesn't mean they have to check their religion at the door. It's going to be a precedent that respects our greatest founding traditions, which is freedom of speech and freedom of religion.
We have lots of anti-discrimination laws. Think about whether a company can discriminate against somebody on the basis of race or gender or disability because the company says that it has a religious belief that requires that discrimination. We don't allow that through law. And so, there are limitations on what corporations can do, and there are anti-discrimination laws that exist that are enforced, and they don't mean that somebody has to check their religious beliefs or abandon them. We just recognize that corporations don't go to church, synagogue, or to the mosque.
Matt?
I think the response is the corporations are made up of people who do go to church and synagogues and mosques, and it's people that don't have to give up the right of religious liberty when they open their business doors. This is a simple matter of a few items like the morning after pill that our clients believe cause abortions. They don't want to have to be required to pay to cause abortions in order to operate a business. And that's really what this boils down to, is their fundamental right to operate according to their conscience.
I asked Ted this question. Matt, I'll ask you the same question. How do you think the court will come down?
We're hopeful that the court will continue its tradition to respect the religious rights of citizens and organizations. We think the law is in our favor in this, and we'll just hope for the best outcome.
All right, Matt Sharp, Ted Shaw, I want to thank you both gentlemen for being with us.
Thank you.